our reentry meeting conference. Dr. Beth Skinner is the Iowa Department of Corrections Director, and Beth has not only been a supporter of Iowa's reentry, unified reentry. When Beth was in New York City, she also represented that goal and belief in unified reentry on a national level. So we are very excited that Dr. Skinner is here with us again this year, and thank her for joining us. And Beth, if there are any chats, I will keep track of them for you. And if anyone has any questions for Director, please let her know. But my friend and colleague, Dr. Beth Skinner.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me okay? Yep. Okay. Well, thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm glad to do this every year. I love that you guys are doing this and pulling this together. And again, thanks to all of you that have put this together. As you know, with the department, reentry is one of our priorities in our strategic plan. So we are, that is something we focus on. And with reentry, I'm 100% committed to the work we do here in Iowa and across the country. I want to give kudos to Katrina and her team. She's been leading the reentry efforts for decades and has done an amazing job with her leadership. And it's always kept her finger on the pulse in terms of what's happening around the country and just doing excellent work. So just kudos to Katrina and your team and the work that you guys are doing. And again, I really appreciate the opportunity to be here today and speaking with you all. So I just want to talk a little bit, give you a little background. So you'll probably hear this throughout the conference, is that, you know, reentry is not just obviously an Iowa thing, it's a national thing. I have led for the last, I believe, 4 to 5 years. I'm the chair for reentry for the Correctional Leaders Association. So basically that means that I'm the national chair for an organization that's just basically commissioners and directors. And so I lead the effort at a national level, which I'm very honored to do. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit in terms of what we're seeing, what others are doing. But I would tell you, Iowa is not unique and alone in terms of the barriers and the challenges that we see facing those that are reentering back into the community. I also think it's very important to note too, is that how we look at reentry might be different compared to how other people do, but reentry starts day one for us. We don't start planning for reentry when we realize someone's getting ready for release. It happens day one, and our team here at the DOC, Katrina and her team, have done an excellent job kind of marching that drumbeat in terms of talking about how reentry is so important, and it starts day one when someone enters our institutions. You know, as many of you know, like our numbers are pretty similar to national numbers in terms of how many people that are incarcerated, that are released every year. It's about 90 to 95%. So we know that everyone pretty much coming in our door is going to be going out the back door, back into our communities. And that's why it's so important we hold these types of conferences. We have the right programming. We have good release planning. We have a good relationship with the Board of Parole. All those things need to happen, and work with community-based corrections as well. All these things have to be firing on all cylinders for us to be successful. So it really takes all of us to be successful for reentry. And that includes all of you that are on this call today. I love to see this many people in this conference. It means you care, that you're committed to reentry, you understand the importance of reentry. And so we all have to do it together. This is not just a corrections thing. This is a community thing. And it's going to take all of us for people to be successful when they come out. So some of the things I'm going to just share with you at a national level that we've been working on is about 4 things that we're seeing. First, I want to share with you something we've been talking about for quite a bit, and hopefully you guys will have some discussion about this during the conference, is we're talking about changing the language, how we talk about reentry and success. For many years and for decades, we've been talking about corrections being, negative, deficient, deficiencies. So, national level with other directors and commissioners about how do we change the language and get people to talk about success versus failure. I think historically, people that have been under supervision have been used to hearing that language around deficiencies, about being unemployed, have unstable housing, don't have enough, lack education, lacked employment skills. We're really pushing hard to develop a cadence and a language around more successful, more positive, empowered language, such as employment, housing, um, success rate, completions, things like that. So I challenge you all on this call to this conference to start having those discussions around what can we do to change the language to a more empowerment, positive language versus a more deficient language. So that's one of the things we're doing on a national level. The other thing that we're working on too is helping states shore up good stories, like success stories. Again, not the newspaper, the stuff that's in the newspaper on the headlines and things like that. It's really the positive things that are happening. The stories about overcoming barriers or removing, policies that have created barriers. Working in our communities to, reduce those barriers, to mitigate those risks and things like that. So those are some of the things we're talking about too. Just want to tell her the good stories that people can be successful, and to use those case studies to share with others that the things that we're doing around the state in these types of conferences, we're having some success. So let's share those stories. Um, we also have challenged all the states to assess if they have created their own barriers to reentry in terms of being a state agency. Are we creating our own barriers through policies or through bureaucratic structures or whatever it may be? What are those barriers, and can reduce those barriers? The other things that we're talking about too, which is near and dear to my heart, as many people will know is that looking at data, being very data heavy in the sense of understanding if we're moving the needle in certain areas. So finding not just successful outcomes when people are 3 years out past, and they don't return back into prison. That's always been, recidivism has always been a measure, and it's a measure that everyone uses, but how they measure it may be different. It might be rearrest, it might be reconviction after 3 to 5 years. That has been a challenge nationally that they're trying to work on, is actually measuring success consistently, because it's not apples to apples. Somewhere to apple to oranges when states measure it differently. So it's hard to compare against other states. So again, we're also challenging other states. How can we measure in a similar manner? But using dashboards, using analytics those types of things that we're really looking at. The Iowa Department of Corrections has done an amazing job. Katrina Sarah Finran, our research director, Renee Schulte, the chair of the board of parole, and her members have come up with a dashboard created by SAS that helps people. And then hopefully it's highlighted during this conference. I'm not sure or not, but it's helping us, find those people that have done certain things that make them ready to go. In terms of certain, like, program completion, things like that, risk scores, looks at a bunch of things. So we're finding, people are ready to go and releasable, and that we believe they'll be successful when they get out. So hopefully that gets highlighted at some point, either at this conference or in the future, the dashboard work we're doing around reentry. But I think, overall, what we're seeing, not just in Iowa, but across this country, is housing is a huge issue. It's not just been a struggle for Iowa, it's finding stable housing, finding housing that's accessible, that's affordable, things like that. That's just not an Iowa thing, that's a national thing. Employment, making sure that we provide opportunities to build soft and hard skills, apprenticeship programs. Education is a big thing for us. We really want to build social and human capital for those individuals. We want them we want them to be released. They want them to come into our system and release in a better place around, education, employment, things like that. So they have an opportunity to be successful. And that is our job, is to do everything we can to ensure these individuals don't return back to us. It doesn't just take us as an department, it's going to take all of us. But it's conferences like these that set us up for success when you have a group of passionate people that care about those individuals under supervision, their families, their communities, that want to make this work. And this is such a great opportunity for not just myself, but for everyone the next day and a half to learn about practices, learn how we can get better. And I'm excited to hear what comes from this conference and how I can support and help you all as we move forward. So thank you for being here today. Appreciate your time. I know everyone's very busy, and your support and commitment to reentry. So thank you.
Thank you, Director. I appreciate your words, and I know that you are a huge fan of Brene Brown. And when you were talking about success stories, one of my favorite quotes from Brene Brown is this: maybe stories are just data with a soul. So I appreciate you so much being with us today. I appreciate your positivity around reentry. And I also follow in your lead of challenging everyone here to talk about successes. Let's look at how we have viewed things. Recidivism is hard to say anyway. Why don't we just go ahead and talk about success rates instead of this made up word of corrections talking about recidivism that is hard? So again, Director, thank you so much for your support, for your belief in us, and for your leadership in our state, and also helping us keep our finger on the pulse of that national level. So thank you so much. And Luke, I think I turn it over to you.